We got some more insight on Phil Spencer's mindset and the future of Xbox. What is up, everybody? Welcome back to another video. Thank you for stopping by. If you're new here, you want to stay updated on everything for the next generation, make sure to subscribe to the channel if you like what you see. I'll be getting all the next gen consoles on day one and making tons of videos on those, but for now, let's get into this. So as we know, Xbox, since the release of the Xbox One, has done a complete 180 in their mindset for the platform and really now focusing on games as its main way to bring gamers back into the Xbox ecosystem. Xbox right now is pretty much just about playing anywhere you want, when you want, on any device that you want that's within the Xbox ecosystem, which includes obviously the Xbox consoles, PCs, and mobile devices through streaming. And there's tons of questions on the exclusivity of first-party Xbox games, particularly Bethesda games, now that they have acquired ZeniMax Media. And Phil Spencer has talked about this recently in another interview about making it really sound like Bethesda games and Xbox first-party games are going to be exclusive to the Xbox ecosystem. And he has talked more on this and the future of Xbox and what we can really start to see going forward with Xbox. First of all, he talks about the current lineup and if there's anything missing within the Xbox ecosystem, because now that they have all of these studios, they have a variety of different games. What is the genre that he thinks is missing and that he wants to bring to the Xbox ecosystem? And Phil Spencer says, if we look at what people are playing on Xbox, what Game Pass subscribers are playing, I think what is missing from our portfolio is casual content with broad appeal. E-rated content to use an ESRB rating is not strength for us. We obviously have Minecraft and we have some other franchises, but when I think about expanding the creative palette that our teams have, I think that is critically important. It goes on to say, teams that can build new franchises, tell new stories, those are always sought after. That's why I'm excited about projects like Starfield and the next Compulsion game, because I like teams that think about new creations. And frankly, as Game Pass continues to grow, we need to continue to feed that subscription. So with the growth that we are seeing, I expect we will constantly be in this mode of bringing more creators into the fold. That's pretty interesting. It tells us a lot of what Xbox is thinking about the future, what type of games that they're going to want to add to their portfolio, and if they're going to be acquiring any more studios or any more talents in the future. E-rated games are cool. If I like the platformer style E-rated games that are family friendly, but also fun platformers with a certain amount of difficulty that make it interesting for gamers who want to play these style of games. So who knows what that means? They may go out and acquire more studios to make those style of games, or there may be studios currently within their portfolio that is going to be focusing on an E-rated style of game. He then also talks about getting teams that can build new franchises like Starfield and then Compulsion's game's next game. So that's really good to hear. Pretty much just saying that they want to continue to grow with new IPs within Xbox Game Pass. They don't want to just continue to churn out the same thing over and over and over again. And obviously they don't want to just focus on Halo and Gears, but also they want to bring new content to Game Pass, which I think is really exciting. I really like it when new IPs come out. I really like it when there's new ideas in games that come out and it's not always the same thing over and over again, which is why for me at the launch for the Xbox Series, a game like the Falconeer, I know this is an indie dev, it's made by one guy, and it's coming out for the Xbox Series X and S, and it looks like a really cool new style of game, a new idea that I would love to play. And they say that it kind of reminds people of Crimson Skies. We haven't had games like that in a while, so when there's new interesting ideas that come out for games, that gets me excited. And highlighting here, I expect we will constantly be in this mode or bringing more creators into the fold. That could mean a variety of things. Maybe that means contracting studios to make exclusive games for Xbox Game Pass, or doing like what they did with ZeniMax Media and going out and acquiring more studios. I wouldn't be surprised if Microsoft and Xbox go out and acquire more studios during this console generation. I don't think that they're done acquiring studios. They still have holes to fill. Like he said, he wants to get more E-rated games. They probably want to get more Japanese style RPGs into the Xbox Game Pass, and I think they're going to go out and do something to take care of that. Now moving on to Xbox games coming out on the Nintendo Switch. He was asked, you recently said it no longer makes sense to release Xbox first party games on Switch. Has your stance on the software on Xbox platforms, Windows PC changed over the years? Now, as we know, Microsoft and Xbox were really good with putting out games on the Nintendo Switch. Certain games like Minecraft have been out everywhere. Ori, even though it wasn't a first-party developer, they were a third party that created Ori as an exclusive for Xbox, and then they put that out onto the Nintendo Switch later. So it gets people thinking, will these games come to the Nintendo Switch? And after reading his long answer, I'm not going to read the entire thing, I will sum it up for you, but basically it sounds like no at the end of the day, unless something happens, which is getting Xbox Game Pass onto the platform. Basically, he talks about how if you play on PC or if you play on Xbox, and that's either PC through the Xbox ecosystem on Game Pass or PC through Steam, you know that first party Xbox games, when they are released, you're going to get to play them either on PC through Steam or through Xbox, or on your Xbox console, obviously through Xbox. And there's no questioning whether you're going to get the game or not, whether that game is going to be available for you on those platforms. And that's what he wants going forward with any other platforms that want to have these Xbox games on them. So it sounds like to me, to Xbox and to Phil Spencer, it's really right now an all or nothing. And that has a lot to do with just how large the Xbox ecosystem is and how many people actually play through it with Game Pass and through PC. To them, there probably just isn't that much of an advantage to put their games out on the PlayStation or the Nintendo Switch right now, because there are way more users playing on PC in general across the world. There's way more people that have an Android phone that could stream Xbox Game Pass through xCloud, and those are the things that they want to push forward into the future. They don't want to focus on bringing their games out to every single platform unless these platforms allow the ability to play Xbox Game Pass. So unless Nintendo allows Xbox Game Pass app download on the Nintendo Switch, and unless PlayStation allows that as well, I have a hard time believing that we will ever see first-party Xbox games on those platforms. Now, my stance on this completely has changed. When they first announced the acquisition of ZeniMax Media, I thought for sure that those games are going to still come out on PlayStation, just because of how Xbox has been operating over the past few years with just really getting their games out to as many people as possible. But then I sat back and thought about it and heard Phil Spencer's response on a previous interview and realized it makes absolutely no sense. The Xbox ecosystem is now big enough, especially with xCloud. Microsoft is a massive company with billions of dollars of cash on hand, so they're not in a rush to make back that money for the ZeniMax Media acquisition. And why would they go out and spend $7.5 billion on this acquisition if they know they can make it back through their own ecosystem? So it just doesn't sound like it is going to happen, in my opinion. He then goes on to talk about exclusivity and what he thinks about exclusivity, how it relates in the industry and everything. Being asked, in terms of exclusivity, how do you view it in general? Aren't there certain perks or advantages for studios to work solely on one or two platforms and providing value to said platforms? And he replies to that, in the short term, there is, but I think in the long term, that camaraderie very quickly turns into weaponizing of exclusive games of mine versus yours. And I think exclusive games for closed platforms are a marketing tool to drive adoption of those closed platforms. And do they work? There's data to say that they do, and data that says that they don't. Now, obviously, he's talking about PlayStation here. It's pretty obvious. PlayStation and Nintendo specifically, basically, that these two platforms use their exclusive games, their extensive, great lineup of exclusive games, as the main marketing tool to get people to go out and buy those consoles. And yeah, obviously, that does work to push those consoles because people want to buy the Nintendo Switch or people want to buy the PlayStation for one of the big reasons being to play those exclusive games. He then talks about the holiday season coming up in 2020 and selling the Xbox Series X and the PlayStation, saying, let's take this holiday. Obviously, PlayStation and Xbox are shipping new consoles. We are both going to ship as many consoles as we can, and I'm going to predict that we are both going to sell every console we build in 2020. And yeah, like I've said this in other videos before, they're definitely going to sell out no matter what. For the Xbox Series X and the Xbox Series S, every console they are shipped is going to be sold, which leads me back to a previous point that I had made in a previous video about Halo. Although it's very disappointing for us gamers that Halo Infinite got delayed, in general, I don't think it really is going to affect the launch of the Xbox Series very much, because every single console that Microsoft is going to ship is going to sell. And if someone was out there only waiting for Halo Infinite to pick up an Xbox Series X and S, and they decided not to pre-order the console because it got delayed, somebody else picked up that console, somebody else bought it, and down the line when Halo Infinite finally does come out, they are still going to go out into the Xbox ecosystem and play it, and most likely be buying an Xbox to play it. So I don't think it's going to make a big difference at launch at all. I think every Xbox Series X and S is going to sell. And Phil Spencer even says here, if I had another exclusive game, all I would do was sell out more quickly, right? Basically, I think what he is referring to is if Halo was to come out as the exclusive big game for Xbox, it would have just sold out more quickly. But at the end of the day, all the consoles are going to sell. They're still going to make all of their money off that. He continues by saying the excitement for gaming is bigger than the excitement for exclusive games, especially right now with COVID-19 as a high level of engagement in our business due to people being stuck at home and not physically socializing in the way that they are used to. From an exclusivity standpoint, they are great marketing vehicles as they can lead to some great games. But if we take a higher level view, is gaming better if more people get to play more of the great games in our ecosystem? I think that is true. And that is why we ship our game on Xbox, we ship our games on PC, and if you have an Android phone, we can play our games. That's just very telling of where Xbox is going into the future, that they just want as many people to play their games as possible if they're within the Xbox ecosystem, which is a large amount of people, obviously, with the Xbox console, with PCs, and with xCloud through streaming. They're still a business. They crunch the numbers, they see that they can make all of their money back, and they can make tons of money without putting these games out on Nintendo and PlayStation. There really is no point. There honestly is no point for Xbox, for Microsoft to put their games on PlayStation, Nintendo, unless Nintendo and PlayStation open up their ecosystems and then everyone kind of starts putting their stuff everywhere. which isn't going to happen, then it would make sense. And they don't measure how many people are playing games on an Xbox console specifically as their success measure. He says here, our high level goal inside of our team is how we measure ourselves is how many people are playing on Xbox. And when we say playing on Xbox, it doesn't mean on the Xbox console. It means somebody who is logging in and playing a part of our ecosystem, whether it's first party and third party. And this could be on the Android phone, it could be on Switch, and it could be on a PC. Now, he mentioned Switch here, but that's basically if they're probably playing the older games for Xbox on the Nintendo Switch, like Ori or something, or Minecraft. But yeah, so it's all about the ecosystem for Xbox. That's going to be what they're focusing on in the future, and you can expect xCloud specifically to reach a much broader audience. Definitely iOS at some point through a browser application, so they can bypass Apple's pretty anti-consumer stance on xCloud and on game streaming. And then I think we're definitely going to see a dongle. We're definitely going to see smart TV apps, and we're definitely going to see just xCloud expanding to as many people as possible. And it's just going to be a massive reach. And that ecosystem is going to explode if that happens, especially if internet gets better, game streaming in general gets better, which will just mean you're going to have people playing on hardware, you're going to have people playing through streaming. And obviously they're going to continue to support their hardware because they do not want to leave gamers who want to play the best experience possible and the most powerful hardware out there for a console behind. So all in all, I think it's really great. I wonder how this is going to affect the industry as a whole. I wonder if PlayStation and Nintendo are going to see the numbers behind the Xbox ecosystem with subscriptions and the amount of money that they do make in the long run. And I wonder if this will change anything in the industry, if there will be more subscription-based stuff from Nintendo, if there'll be more subscription-based stuff from PlayStation, and if eventually, if they decide not to put out their own subscriptions, they'll ever house Xbox Game Pass on their platform. Obviously, they would have to make a deal with Xbox, like they would have to make tons of money from it as well, or that would never happen. But it'll just be super interesting to see how this next generation shapes out with all of these different changes and the 180 that Xbox has taken from the beginning of the life of the Xbox One. Anyways, guys, I just want to talk about this because I think it's a pretty interesting interview. There's a lot of good information in there. I will leave the link to it in the description below. Let me know what you think about this in the comments below. Let me know if you like Xbox Game Pass, if you like the direction Xbox is going, or would you rather them really more focus on having exclusives specifically to their hardware only, which is Xbox Series X and S, and kind of do more like the PlayStation and Nintendo strategy. I would really love to hear your thoughts in the comments below. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to hit that thumbs up button. If you're new to this channel and you like what you see, hey, maybe consider subscribing to help the channel grow. I'll be getting all the next gen consoles on day one and making tons of videos. Almost at 1,000 subscribers, so it'll be really cool to get there in the next couple of weeks. I would love to do a celebration and a giveaway for that. That in general will just be a lot of fun. So again, thank you guys for watching. I appreciate all your support, and I'll catch you in the next video.